The other day I was meditating about what shall I speak on this Sunday. I was asking Spirit, what should I speak on? And into my head came the words, the prayer of St. Francis. Now, if you're not familiar with the prayer of St. Francis was a great saint. You might remember have seen pictures of him where the animals are, like the birds are landing on his shoulder and the wolf is at his feet and other animals. They felt very safe and comfortable around St. Francis. St. Francis is a person who lived hundreds of years ago, and he had left his wealthy family. He wanted to find and live for God. And so he lived a very prayerful life and a very devoted life. And consequently, he developed a tremendous degree of awareness of God, a tremendous amount of peace and love. And I want to share with you, bring up the prayer that he did up on the screen here. There we go. So some of you may not be able to see that in the back. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. If you can see it and want to read the rest with me, you can. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying to self that we are born to eternal life. A beautiful prayer. And when I looked at the prayer again, I thought, well, that's a lot to do in one message. So I'm just going to take the first verse this morning. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Key word in that statement is thy. Make me an instrument of thy peace. It's God's peace. That's the only peace that exists, is God's peace, right? So make me an instrument of thy peace means help me to feel your peace, Lord. Help me to feel my true nature, my true essence as a being of peace. The Hebrew Bible says that God is in all and through all, which essentially means that underlying everything is God's peace and harmony. We may not see it, we may not feel it within ourselves, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Edgar Mitchell, who was on Apollo 14 and was the sixth man to walk on the moon, shared that when he was in outer space in the Apollo 14 circling the moon, he said he could hold up his thumbnail and cover the earth. And as he was watching the different things flowing, hurling through space, moving through, tumbling through space, he had this epiphany that everything was in a peaceful harmony and order. And so that's what the saints and sages tell us, that everything, even though we may not understand it from our limited point of view, there's an order and harmony underlying all things. And that order and harmony is in everything, in the earth, in the planets, and in you and in me. And that we can feel that order and harmony and peace when we tune into it. Now, St. Francis, we might say, well, that's kind of interesting that the animals would land on him. That's a cute little picture, right? That's okay, that's fun. But the sages and ancient wisdom says that when you are a being of peace, when you live in peace, you express this peace around you. It can be felt. It's been said that when Gandhi walked into a room of chaos and restlessness, there would be a sense of peace. Have you ever been around someone who was radiated such peace you could feel it in their presence? Well, St. Francis was a being like that. He had such tremendous peace. One of the teachings, ancient teachings, are called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali was a great sage, and these oral teachings, and Patanjali wrote them down. They became known as the Yoga Sutras. Now, many people these days, when they hear the word yoga, they think of standing on your head or, postures. Well, yoga is a whole philosophy of ancient wisdom that goes way back. The postures were simply one of many other aspects of yoga to help you tune in to your true nature. And the teachings of Patanjali said when you become a being of peace, you receive a power in which people and even animals can become peaceful in your presence. The wonderful sage Yogananda, the story was told about him and people witnessed it. He's a contemporary version, in my opinion, of someone like Jesus Christ and Buddha, who is a fully enlightened being. Now, someone said that enlightenment is being immersed in and surrounded by peace. That's a form of enlightenment. And Yogananda took these kids on a camping trip. And they went on horses, and some of the kids had the responsibility of looking after the horses after they had camped out and so on. And one of the kids had left the horses exposed. And someone ran in and said, there's a tiger. This is India. There's a tiger. So Yogananda went out and stood between the tiger and the horses. And because he sensed this harmony and peace in all of nature, that tiger approached Yogananda and then laid down and rolled over like a little kitty cat. And Yogananda reached down and scratched his belly and told him, look, these horses are not for you. You need to go somewhere else for dinner. And the tiger left. Now, for us, that's way out. But there are many stories like that of people who had witnessed things like that around Yogananda. There were people in the days of Jesus who witnessed incredible things that happened with Jesus. There are true things that have happened with other great sages like the Buddha and others who have lived. A being of peace radiates an energy that impacts the world around them. And you and I are also, in our true nature, beings of peace. We too are created in the image of peace. We're not this body. This body is like a uniform, Underneath the skeleton is our true being. And that's the image of God, the expression of peace. That's our true nature, a being of peace. That inside of you is always at peace. What happens is our mind gets disturbed. Our mind. You're not your mind. You're the awareness in there. You're the being that's in there. You in there is always a being of peace. But your mind gets disturbed. Your thoughts get disturbed. Something happens in the world and you start to think in a way that disturbs your peace. We all do. The problem is we tend to blame other people for the disturbance of our peace. We tend to blame circumstances. If only this wasn't the way it was. If only my boss wasn't a jerk. If only certain people wouldn't do things the way they're doing them. You know, some of the thoughts that cause discord in our own consciousness is thinking you're not the way that I think you should be. Right? Yes. You're not like me. Yes. And so I don't like that, and I'm not at peace. Anybody ever have that experience? Or the world is not being the way it should be. It's not the way it ought to be, according to my blueprint of how life should be. And there are sages who say, no, the world is the way it is, and it's perfect the way it is. Even though we don't understand it, it's in some way unfolding exactly as it's supposed to be. And that doesn't mean we're to be passive. Doesn't mean we don't care. It just means realizing that how we feel inside has to do with what's going on here inside of us. So peace is a choice. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. The peace is God's expressing as us. The peace doesn't come from outside. God doesn't give us the peace. It's not like when we pray for peace, all of a sudden God pours the peace in, even though God is everywhere present, and you can think of that peace coming in from outside. There's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is you and I are beings of peace. And so we're tuning in to the peace of our true nature. So you're never separate from it. And I think that's important because it's not a matter of, well, God is sitting back going, well, maybe I'll give him or her peace. You know, no, it's always there. The choice is yours and mine to be peaceful. Now, a lot of spiritual teachings talk about, you know, choosing peace and basically using your willpower to bring a sense of peace. And that's important and that's helpful. For example, you could take the verse, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're feeling worried, whenever something bothers you, you can take the verse, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, and repeat that in your mind. You could even unitize it, which means to make it in the present tense. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. And you're identifying with your true nature of peace. Now your thoughts, what you've done there is your awareness in there has interrupted your thought pattern, which might be resisting what's going on around you, and you might be caught up in that stuff. See, that's why it's so important to develop the ability to be rooted in your awareness and not just get caught up in thoughts and feelings, because when you're rooted in awareness, now you can recognize, wait a minute, I'm feeling anxious and worried or angry and fearful, and I can interrupt that pattern by knowing I am an instrument of thy peace. I am an instrument of thy peace. I am an instrument of thy peace. Now that's difficult to do. And one of the reasons that's difficult to do, and I don't think you read this a lot in spiritual books, I think you may see it more often these days because science has evolved. Contemporary science understands a little more about how our brains are designed and what's going on inside of us. And here's the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. You are a spiritual being living in a physical body with a brain, and you have your brain. Some could say it's not just one brain, it has different parts, right? So you have what's called an old brain inside of you, which is thousands of years in evolution, right? And the problem is that old brain was created to help us survive back in the caveman days, when there were saber-toothed tigers, when there were all kinds of dangers all around us, when we didn't know where we were going to get our next meal or whether we were going to be a meal. Right? And your brain was designed to help you survive that. You have the same brain. And it hasn't evolved much. The difference now is we've got food. The difference now is you don't have a tiger walking around, ready to chomp on you. You have other tigers walking around that, but it's a different world. But here's the problem. Your old brain doesn't know that. Your old brain just is quick to react to every little signal of danger because it wants you to survive. So how do you deal with that? You in there have this physical body because our soul wanted to have an experience of this three-dimensional existence. And you need a body in order to do that. And the game is evolution. You got a body that's evolved over millions of years. And you're in the body. We can identify with the animal kingdom in that way because they have bodies too. But the difference is you have awareness. You have awareness in this body. And you have the ability to access your true spiritual nature while living in a body with an ancient brain. So when something triggers you and you feel anxious because that's the old brain inside of you going, oh my God, oh no. Your awareness can see that trigger and then you can do something about it. You can do something about it. Here's what a lot of people do about it. They freak out. Oh my God, I'm all anxious, and they worry, they get caught up in it. They don't understand. No, that's just your old brain. That's saying, survival, survival, look out, look out. And they freak out. When instead, you can make a choice to recognize, no, I'm not this old brain. I'm not in danger. And you can raise that level of energy and choose to experience inner peace. You can calm that old brain inside of you with the peace of your own being. What do a lot of people do to make themselves feel better? Anybody? When that old brain freaks out and they start to get anxious and worried and feel whatever they feel inside, what do a lot of people do to make, that's right, drink alcohol. I'll feel better, just give me a drink. Let's have a drink. Why? To numb it. That feels better. I feel better. Guess what? Your brain goes, oh, you feel a little better, and your brain goes, hey, whenever you're stressed out, just have a drink because you feel better. The old brain doesn't know that you're not going to function as well. Your old brain doesn't know that you're going to have a headache the next day. Your old brain doesn't know that you get really angry when you drink. Your old brain doesn't know that you become less effective in your life, therefore more stressed, and so you got to drink more. What else do people do? Smoke weed, okay? Yeah, which is now legal. Right? Now it's legal. So yeah, to smoke weed or to smoke anything, right? Cigarettes, right? Oh, I'm freaked out, I'm anxious. Let me just light up weed or cigarette. Oh, I feel a little better. Your brain says, hey, whenever you're anxious, just light up a cigarette or weed. You'll feel better. But what it doesn't tell you is that you might die of any number of diseases from the cigarette. It doesn't tell you that it really tastes nasty. And it doesn't smell good. And it gets all in your clothes. And it drives other people away who don't like the smell of it. Your brain doesn't tell you that. because it's not designed to. It's an old brain that's just designed to make you survive. There's any number of things that we do to try to make ourselves feel better. Now, here's the thing. When you experience inner peace, a part of your brain goes, wow, that's more rewarding than anything else. Your old brain goes, I like that much better than drinking. I like that much better than indulging in chocolate. I love that feeling of peace. Your brain has a way of upgrading what you feel and do, so that next time it goes, oh. I mean, you may have to make that choice many, many times instead of anxiety and whatever the choice is to make ourselves feel better. When you choose peace, you may have to do it many times for your old brain to start to go, you know what? This time I'm not going to go for the drink. This time I'm not going to go for the dozen donuts. This time I'm not going to go for the drug or whatever it might be. The worry. Let me take a moment to know I am an instrument of thy peace. I am an instrument of thy peace. Maybe taking some long, deep breaths to help you to feel that peace, to help you to bodily and physically feel peace in your body, so that your brain gets the message and goes, I like this. This is a more rewarding experience than the other habit patterns. This is what Jesus was talking about when he said, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives do I give unto you. The world's not going to be the way we want it to be. People are not going to be the way we want them to be all the time. And there's a peace that is accessible to us at all times, under all circumstances. But you got to want it. You got to want it. You got to make a commitment to it. You got to learn, I really want this peace. I want this peace. I don't want the anxiety anymore. I don't want the fear anymore. I don't want the behaviors that are destructive to me anymore. I want peace. I want the peace of God. That's what I want. And then we start to make that choice to experience peace. There is a verse in A Course in Miracles that says, I can choose peace rather than this. I can choose peace rather than this. That might be a good statement to put somewhere, on your refrigerator, on your car visor, or on your mirror, or one similar to it. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. Want to join me in saying that together? Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. Let's say it with some energy now. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. Now a little softer. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. And now in a whisper. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. And now mentally. Lord, I am an instrument of thy peace. I am an instrument of thy peace. I am an instrument of thy peace. Father, Mother God, thank you for guiding us in this awareness through this great prayer of St. Francis. that we can choose peace. That it is our true nature. It's not something that comes from outside of us. It is our true nature. And thank you for helping us to make that choice, helping us to stay aware. When we get triggered, to notice, oh, I'm triggered. To notice what are the things that trigger us. And to notice, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad. Thank you for helping us to notice, to be aware, and then to choose peace. To breathe into those feelings. To know, Lord, I'm an instrument of thy peace. If anyone is listening right now who feels anything other than peace, I invite you right now to breathe into that feeling. Notice the feeling and breathe into it, and imagine that the peace of God is moving into those feelings. And as you exhale, imagine that you're breathing out the anxiety, the fear, the anger, or whatever it might be. Breathing in peace and breathing out, letting go. Breathing in peace, breathing out, and letting go. Lord, I am thy instrument of thy peace. And so it is. Amen.